Yo, what's going on, everyone? I just wanted to make a little video today about the two big trades that happened in the NFL the last couple days. Just a little backstory. I want to start making videos like this. I wanted to do this for a while, and I haven't really done it with making videos for the NFL, just week to week videos, big trades, any controversy in the NFL. And I finally just decided to do it. So here it is. It's going to be a pretty raw video, one take, one edit, no cool animations yet, but I just wanted to get something going. And yeah, I mean, there's really nothing much to it. So let's get right into it. First off, let's talk about the DJ Moore trade to the Buffalo Bills. I think this is one of those situations where it's a big trade, a win-win situation for both teams. For the Bears free up cap. I think it made sense the entire time to get rid of DJ Moore even before this trade because you have your core in Luther Burden, which a lot of people may not believe in, but to me, he was a guy that fell to a later round, should have been a first-round talent. I think he was on a Mizzou team that wasn't that good. And I think he definitely had some situational football where maybe he wasn't giving it his all because he was in a situation where he didn't love where he was, which, may come to be a problem in the NFL. But as far as raw talent, Luther Burden's that guy. Okay. Showed it in college. I've watched him in high school. He's that guy. And as a rookie, he showed flashes of it, and I know he didn't put a full season together, but he didn't really have that spot on the team as being, I believe he's a number one. He had the opportunity to be the number two behind Rome, for Rome when he was injured, but now it's going to be a little different. Now you have your core with the Chicago Bears where it's Loveland at tight end, call it Rome Odunze at 1, and Luther Burden at 2. I mean, when they're both on the field and they're both the 1 and 2, the 1 will show when the stats come out this year, right? And I believe it's Luther Burden. I'm sure Rome will be considered the 1. Whatever you want to call it, really doesn't matter. But I think this is a great trade for both teams, especially for the Bears, because you free up cap. You don't want to have, in my opinion, three receivers that are all able to get targets, right? I think it's really big to have your number one guy, which is too early in Chicago to tell who that guy is. But when you have DJ Moore, Luther Burden, Rome Odunze, Loveland, even Kmet will take targets. You have two solid running backs. It's too many mouths to feed, and I feel like I know a lot of Bears fans are really upset about this, but DJ Moore needed to go for multiple reasons. First of all, I don't think his attitude's the best. I think he kind of shows that Stephon Diggs type style where when things aren't going his way, you really do see it. And for a young team that's trying to make the playoffs consistently, I don't know how good that is to have a guy like that on your roster. I know a lot of Bears fans are sad about it because he was that guy. He was really one of those first pieces to get the Bears to where they are now, right? He was part of that Bryce Young trade. He was the reason that Caleb is on the Bears in the first place. They got a lot back in that trade in general. But when it's a guy's time to go, it's time to go. And I think because Bears fans have PTSD of not necessarily having the guys that they want there, when they do have a guy they want there, they cling on to him. And in this situation, it made perfect sense. As far as for the Bills, they also win this trade because as soon as Stephon Diggs left, they never really replaced that number one receiver. Khalil Shakir is a solid receiver. He's a guy that Josh Allen fed a lot last year, in the previous year too. He was a big, 2 years ago, 5 for 50 yards, and he actually had some breakout games this year. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. Maybe he'll really. I mean, honestly, with DJ Moore being there now, I don't even think it's possible. But maybe Shakir steps up and does become more of a. He was always reliable for Josh Allen, right? But maybe he never shined as like a wide receiver one for me. So with DJ Moore there, I think that opportunity for him even is slighter now. But maybe because of all this, it'll open him up more because you have to give DJ more, you have to give DJ more attention because to me, he's the number one of the team. I think he'll take that Stephon Diggs role. And for DJ Moore, this is the best quarterback that he's ever played with. He was on the Panthers. He was in the Bears situation where when they didn't have Caleb, he's played with a lot of bad quarterbacks. And I like Caleb Williams. But he played with Caleb Williams during his rookie year. This year was a lot different, right? But I think Caleb Williams is still in that learning year. I think he'll take a big leap. I think this is his prove-it year. I do think Caleb Williams will take a step forward. But just as far as DJ Moore being there, he's never had a Pro Bowl level quarterback and an all pro level guy, right? So to me, it's a great win for the Bills as well because I think it'll open up Shakir, Dawson Knox, even the run game I think will be affected by it, right? I think it opens up James Cook. So when you can rely on a guy like James Cook and you can add a weapon like DJ Moore, I really do think it takes your offense to the next level. And when you have a guy like Josh Allen, your offense is already top 10 automatically, right? So for me, for the fantasy guys out there, I think DJ Moore will be a great addition. They're able to take on that cap. And I really do think this was a trade that was a win-win for both teams. All right, the next trade I wanted to talk about is the Maxx Crosby trade. Again, I think this is another win-win for both teams. I think Maxx Crosby is one of those guys that's going to play his heart out for any team that he's on, but especially for a team that is automatically in a playoff contention spot. They lost the chance to get into the playoffs last year after a loss with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And when you have a guy like Lamar Jackson, when you have Derrick Henry in the backfield, you have a new coach, we'll see how that goes. But other than that, he adds another level to this defense, right? You have one of the best safeties in the game in Kyle Hamilton. You have one of the best linebackers in Roquan Smith. You now add Maxx Crosby to your D-line. You now have an elite player at all three levels of your defense, at D-line, linebacker, and secondary. So I think there's a lot of people that would argue, and I think this is a big reason as to why the Bears, I think personally there might be a situation where the Bears had a chance to get Crosby and they didn't want to give up that draft capital, right? And from a GM standpoint, I can understand that. But what I will say is, okay, so you take the NFL drafts, right? Especially in these 1 through 32 already in the draft, there's been busts at every single spot. 1 through 32, right? And as you get earlier in the draft, it's more of a bigger boom or bust moment where, hey, this guy didn't pan out and we wasted a 4th overall pick on him, right? And where these later first round picks might be pivotal for the franchise to not miss on those, it's not as heavy and it doesn't hurt as much to the franchise when those picks are missed, right? So what I'm getting at is a lot of people have a problem, and they had the problem with this with the Michael Parsons trade. To me, giving up 2 first-round picks that, in theory, are later first-round picks, right? So let's say the Bears were to give their 2 first-round picks for 2026 and 2027, right? In theory, those picks are going to be later picks because we should all assume that the Bears should be right back in the playoffs, right? So at that, so there's what, 7 teams that make the playoffs, 14. So like at a minimum, that's like a top that's like a 20th pick. Best case scenario, right? So assume even the Bears win one game, right? You're talking about later than the 20th pick overall, which, yeah, there's a lot of steals in the later rounds of the drafts, of course, but there's later there's picks in the second round, the third round, the fourth round, up until probably, I would say even possibly in the fifth round, there's some steals. Sixth and seventh, you're not really finding too many steals, right? But in that first later round, I think if you're willing to give up those 2 picks to get a guy like Maxx Crosby, that's a proven guy, an absolute stud at the D line, you're getting a top pass rusher in the league, guaranteed. Okay? Whereas there's teams that have high top 5 picks, right? Can even say with Carolina when they miss on Bryce Young. There's teams like the Giants that have consistently had top 10 picks. Now it's a little different, right? Because they have Jackson Dart and Cam Scadaboo, right? But they have consistently, the Browns, there's franchises that have consistently missed on higher picks, top 10 picks, okay? So that back end of the first round is still not a guarantee that you're going to grab a guy that's an absolute monster. So if you can tell me that, first of all, if you can rely on your team, because this is where I think the draft is made. Yeah, okay, it's easy to find a guy at 5 overall and say, hey, we're going to take the best linebacker at this spot. We're going to take the best wide receiver at this spot. Sure, okay, but a lot of those guys don't pan out. Laquan Treadwell, Kevin White. Like, there's a bunch of guys that are taken in those spots that don't pan out, that are, quote unquote, not able to be misses in the draft, right? So if you can give up those picks to grab a guy like Maxx Crosby, 10 out of 10 times, you're like, I would do it. Okay. And there's that argument that, well, there's a lot of teams that there's this like thing going on that people are saying, well, there's the top DNs in the league. They don't make the Super Bowl, right? And I don't think that's a fair argument at all. A big reason I don't think it's a bad argument, because let's say you grab that Myles Garrett, that Micah Parsons, you grab those guys, the Maxx Crosbys. You can't say that's why you're not winning the Super Bowl, right? Because there's a lot of arguments saying these top tier DNs are not the guys in the Super Bowl. It's the more balanced lines. It's the guys with the Eagles where they have 6 or 7 guys that are all above average. They don't have that Micah Parsons. They don't have that TJ Watt, right? But the thing is as soon as you acquire these guys, they make your defense so much better. They can take your defense from top 20 to top 10. Okay? Statistically, it's a little weird, but when the Packers grabbed Micah Parsons and he was playing, that defense was playing at a top 5 level, top 3 level. You could even argue at weeks that they were playing at the number one defense in the league, right? When he got injured, their defense, I think they went from 19 points giving up to 29, right? So you can say what you want about making the Super Bowl. The thing that people need to realize, one team makes the Super Bowl. Or excuse me, 2 teams make the Super Bowl, 1 team wins the Super Bowl. So if you're telling me year after year the top pass rusher isn't winning the Super Bowl, that's like taking the field in this situation. The team that won the Super Bowl doesn't have the top pass rusher, but that doesn't mean that system doesn't work, right? When you grab a player and they automatically make your defense 5, 10, even 15. I mean, think about this. Take Myles Garrett off the Browns. How many sacks did he have? Was it 23? And excuse me if I'm wrong, but 20 plus sacks. Take that away from the Browns. They already didn't win any games. Imagine how bad their defense is when you take Myles Garrett away. Imagine how bad the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is if you take TJ Watt away. You already saw what happened when the Packers lost Micah Parsons. It was really, really bad. They started giving up 10 more points a game. I can't even imagine what their yardage per game giving up was, right? So everyone that has a problem with giving up a couple first-round picks for an elite pass rusher, I just won't understand it, right? So to me, again, both these trades were win-win. I think the Bills won the trade for the DJ Moore trade. I think the Bears are in a situation where they can give up a guy like that. And I also think the same thing for the Ravens and the Raiders. Now the Raiders are in a spot where they're probably, I mean, it's pretty given that they're going to take Mendoza at 1, right? And I believe that now with that trade, they have pick 19, which I think makes sense. You have Genty in the backfield. Who knows if he's going to pan out, but you still have a very promising young core. They struggle at wide receiver. They have Tyler Lockett. They have Trey Tucker. And they're struggling there, right? But now you set yourself up for a situation where you have Brock Bowers, you have Genty, you have Mendoza, and now you have a top 20 pick where you can go out and get a wide receiver. And I'll tell you one thing. When this draft's a little different because it's a very weak draft, right? But I'm telling you, there's going to be a wide receiver that the Raiders can take at that pick, or even better, take a line. Because I think a lot of Genty's struggles were because of the line. So their defense ranked 29th last year. They're still in a terrible situation on defense. But I think as far as a team, like that's the thing that I talk about that I want to talk about these draft picks. When you're in a situation where you're in a let's go to the Super Bowl, let's make a run in the playoffs, you're able to come off those first round picks because you've already proven that you don't need that first round guy to build around, to solidify your team, right? When you're a team like the Browns, the Raiders, I'll even throw the Giants in there, right? You need those early picks because your team hasn't been able to get over the hump. And when you're not able to get over the hump, you need that guy that needs to come in and be a premier guy on your team, right? When you already have your core, okay, like a team like the Bears, a team like the Bills, you're able to get rid of those first-round picks a lot differently because you're not in a rebuild mode, right? When you're in a rebuild mode, you need the first overall pick. You need a 2, 3, 4, 5 pick, right? When you're in a situation where your team's solidified, you can get away with that and build your draft in the later rounds where you can take those guys and you can develop them. You can take a lineman and you can take a raw lineman in the second round, the third round, the fourth round, and they can sit for a year or two. Or guess what? They can play in an offensive line that's already solidified. So the weak spots are rookie, but he's going to learn from the veterans on the team. When you have a lineman that's playing and he's a rookie and he's playing with a trash center and he's playing with a veteran guard that's 35 years old that's on his last year that's just there for the paycheck, and he's with a right guard that's injured and a right tackle that's not very good. That's different than putting a rookie in a situation where there's a team where there's leadership already built into the system. There's winning already built into the system. It's completely different. Okay? Again, guys, I just want to start making these videos. So if there's any comments you want to leave, any things that you think that could make the video better, this is literally my first video, and I'm just going to post it. No edits, nothing. Sorry, I don't have any cool logos in the back or this little light that's hitting everyone in the eyes. Sorry about all that. But, yeah, 2026, this is what I'm going to start doing, and I don't care. It's just what I want to do. I want to have fun with this. I love NFL. That's my favorite sport, and I feel like a lot of my buddies would think differently, but I think I have decent things to say. So that's all for this video, guys. I appreciate it. I'm going to start posting some videos on YouTube. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll make a podcast out of it. Millie podcast was a thing before, but, for whatever reason, I stopped it. So take a listen to this video. Like the video. Smash that like button. Do what you got to do. Millie out. Peace.